Good evening and welcome to 321
Cocktail hour.
Cocktail Hour. What's going on? It's DMac and Rachel. Good evening, Rachel. You look wonderful as always. How are you?
Thank you. You too. It's funny. I do a weekly Q&A on my Instagram, and somebody put this today. Hold on, let me get to it.
All right.
It was very, very nice and
Oh, yeah?
not really a question, but you and DMac have such great chemistry. Love the show. Thank you.
Well, I agree.
I could not agree more.
I totally
It was
agree.
so much fun.
I'm just doing this on
Two totally different perspectives. I'm not drinking tonight. I got a nice little Coke.
Yeah, I'm not drinking either because I'm going to the game. I know we're letting you down on Cocktail Hour. I can pretend this.
But I hope you all are doing one. If you're having a cocktail, let us know in the comments.
Where's your head at tonight?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to get into.
Yeah.
First, we talk about Colorado State.
Oh my gosh, Rachel. How are you doing? Rachel, what year did you graduate from CSU?
So technically I was class of 2018, but I graduated in 2017. So
okay, smarty pants.
I was heartbroken. We were at a CSU bar down in Denver.
Okay.
We were all so excited.
Hold on. What's a CSU bar in Denver? What's the name of it?
I don't remember the name of it. Let me pull it up real quick. But one way or another, the two guys that own it were CSU, or one of the guys with a CSU alum. The other one went to Metro, but like hung out with everybody that went to CSU.
Okay.
So they were all green and gold. They passed out beads. They had pom-poms. They had different deals. It was just so much fun.
Where did your husband Anthony go to school?
Colorado School of Mines.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right. He's the genius.
He's the smarty one.
Yeah.
It's called Blackbird Public House.
Okay.
Really good food.
Yeah.
But it was packed.
Yeah.
Everybody was screaming. And I was scrolling on my phone, which I should not have done.
Yeah.
And I saw that they took the lead with 2 seconds left. And I was freaking out. Nobody else had seen it yet, hadn't shown up on TV. So
so you were cheating. You were cheating it a little bit.
I cheated, just not because they went to commercial. So I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
My heart literally leaped out of my chest. I was so excited. I was like, they have the lead. They drain this beautiful three. I'm like, all they have to do is stop them and they're going to the Sweet 16. That's it. That's all they have to do. And then the guy traveled. And it is
okay. All right.
Travel. I'm sorry.
Did he travel?
Yes. He took 5 steps.
All right. Let me just go through it with you. Should there be replay? Or do you feel like CSU got a raw deal?
Yeah, they got screwed.
Would you have felt the same if the shoe was on the other foot?
Well, that's the hardest part, and why basketball in general drives me so crazy. Well, maybe just sports in general, right? Because they're like, oh, you can't make that call during this point.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's still, you can't do it no matter what, whether it's the first quarter, it's the fourth quarter, whether it's first half, second half, whatever sport you're playing, it's still not allowed. And yet we're just like, it's okay. This timing, it's fine.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I am left confounded that so should CSU have just hammered them? I mean, if we're not calling fouls, if we're not calling violations, should CSU have just really hit them? I guess we're not calling things, right? Are we ignoring all the rules at the end of the game? Just some of the rules? What are we doing here?
Just the soft rules. They totally, if they would have gone out and fouled them, but we've seen games, right, where it can be a clean block and they still will be like, no, sorry, touched him. That's it. There should be replay on those type of things. On
okay, all right, hold on. So you think there should have been replay on that it should have been a challengeable moment.
Yeah.
And they go back and look, and I know the rule in college with the gather and then the steps is different in the NCAA, and by the letter of the law, that was definitely a travel.
Yeah.
But you do favor the review of and challenging of moments, even if it's a game-winning shot.
Yes. There are rules for a reason. And even if the roles were reversed and CSU would have won on that, you still broke the rule of the game. So it should be able to have somebody look at it and say, no, that is technically not allowed.
Can you look at yourself in the eye, look yourself in the mirror and say, Rachel, I would think the same exact thing if it was CSU rather than Maryland. I would think the same thing if Nick Clifford just 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5 basket game over. CSU wins. We're on the floor. Wait, timeout. Let's review that. You think you'd feel the same way?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want him to, but if they did and he did it, I'd be like, well, okay. It's the exact same thing. We're talking NFL playoffs, and he bobbles the ball, and you can't really tell until you really take a look at the review, and you're like, nope, it touched the ground first. Like, same exact thing in basketball. And, I was kind of over it, I'm not going to lie, until I saw the interview that player, I don't even know his name,
Queen, did with Pat last name is Queen, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What do you say?
Fired up. He was just like, it wasn't a travel. Those guys don't even know ball. Do you not know ball? I'm sorry, sir. Oh, I was so irritated.
I know in the press conference after the game, the first thing he said is, well, the coach did his job. He got us the money. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. It's kind of funny. And I know it's true, but it's just a weird thing to like, that's the first thing that you hear. And for the record, I think the NCAA would have loved CSU. They would have been the biggest. They would have been there. Yep. That's exactly who they would have been. Yeah. They would have been the tournament darling.
Yep.
I don't know where you guys would have played next. But it would have been
actually.
San Francisco, really? That's the next round, San Fran? Oh, that'd have been awful tempting to go to.
I know. Trust me, I was really considering. I'm like, I gotta go.
And I saw some of our
happen very often.
We saw some of our favorite CSU people. We saw Jenny Kavner there, and Susie was there, and oh gosh, I don't know. There were other CSU people, but specifically, it was cool to see Jenny and Susie up there, who I know you're good friends with too, and you have Rams pride with those two.
I know. So my heart is still broken. I'm going to try to get over it, but yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad. Like, I really don't have a dog in the fight, man. I'm a Syracuse guy. So, whatever. I didn't know much about the team. I knew that Nico Medved was going to leave soon, and he left the next day. I mean, the game, the corpse, Rachel, wasn't even 24 hours old, and he's signing a new deal with Minnesota.
That is one of the worst parts to me about
I'm sorry.
College sports. And it happens everywhere. But like the fact that he had a deal done before, they had even probably taken a step off the court.
Yeah.
Honestly, before he probably got on the court that day, he had a deal done. Like, peace out, everyone. I'm going.
Yeah.
Which, good for him. He's like going back home, and it's a great job for him. And I know CSU just hired their next head coach, but it's still just such a bummer. I hate that about, these types of situations.
So you're not mad at him?
No.
Will you be mad at players that leave CSU if they go with him to Minnesota?
No. I think there's a bit of a pride thing where, you are either bleeding that coach or you are bleeding the green and gold. Yeah. And if you want to stay there and be like, I'm going to make a name here at this university, then you're going to stay. Otherwise, you're going to follow the coach and go to the next best thing. So, no, I don't fault those players at all.
There was another.
It's the same thing for us. Like, we always want to go to the next best gig, right?
Yeah, as broadcasters?
Yeah.
Well,
you
good.
climbed the ladder. You act like you didn't climb the ladder.
Yeah, how you do? I'm sure you do. I'm into the.
But you did climb the. I mean, Denver's a great.
It is. You're right. All right, I'll back up. You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
When my wife and I were in Buffalo, and things had just kind of stalled out career-wise. And we didn't want to bring up kids in Buffalo. And we had been married for a couple of years, 5 years actually. And so it really felt like, and then we had a super difficult choice to make because my next job out of Buffalo was not Denver. It was actually Washington, D.C. Oh. And yeah. And I had an opportunity in Atlanta at the same time, but Atlanta was just a little slow on the draw. So I had taken the job. I actually was offered a job in Knoxville, Tennessee, which shockingly, I mean, I went down to Knoxville with no expectations whatsoever. Mm-hmm. The radio station was gorgeous. It was in an old TV building, so it was huge. So nice. Knoxville. Have you ever been to Knoxville, Tennessee?
I have not. No, I've been to Nashville, but never Knoxville.
Gorgeous town. The problem was it's just a little small. I was trying to climb up the ladder. But it was just a gorgeous town. Rachel, they could not have treated me nicer. And I had been unemployed for a chunk of time, and they offered me the job right then and there on the spot. But I did have a job interview in Washington like 2 days after that job. And they knew that. They knew that going into it. But they did not want me to get on that plane. It was crazy. I've never been like, wooed so much.
It's fun to be wooed.
It's fun to be wooed. And I get to Washington. And it's Washington, D.C. And it wasn't really the perfect job. It was to work as a producer for this guy called the Grease Man. So I don't think he really wanted to hire me, but his show was kind of shitty. And the program director was looking to get some new flavor in there and new blood. And it was probably going to be an impossible situation, but I was a little dazzled by the market size. I mean, top 10 market. It was the most money I would have ever made in radio. It still wasn't really that much money. Yeah. And then I get there and the guy gets fired before I started for saying some terribly racist stuff. I won't go into the details, but you can look it up. Grease Man fired. And, Google it for yourself and you see why I got fired. And I'm hearing about this and I'm like, do you still want me? But everything's packed up in Buffalo. I am packed and stacked. I am moving there. This happens 3 days. And I'm hearing it on my local radio station in Buffalo that this guy's getting fired in Washington, the guy I'm supposed to work with. So they say, no, you're going to be part of whatever we do. Come on down. And I go, okay. I'm staying in a hotel. And there's a guy I was going to work with, the Grease Man, on Nightline with Ted Koppel apologizing to the country. I mean, it was surreal. I'm like,
I just saw what he said.
Yeah, about Lauryn Hill.
Oh, I saw about.
Oh, there are a couple of things.
Yeah, I saw one about trucks. Not
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the one. Yeah. So, anyways. I get the job, but they don't know what they want to do with the morning show, so they stick me on at night, and it was miserable. It was terrible. Yeah. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but
all I will say,
I ended up in Denver eventually.
We could talk about me and like my job real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I've been so lucky to grow up here in Denver, to have my entire career be here in Denver.
Yeah,
it's too hard to walk away from the city.
I bet. I think that's
you got the Nuggets, you got the Broncos, all doing really well right now. It's like impossible.
I think that is a big problem for a few of you guys who grew up in Colorado, went to school in Colorado, and have worked professionally in Colorado with your hometown teams. Colorado is such a great place. Yeah. It's like you need to like buy a house, and the first house you see is like, oh my God, that's it. But it's like, wait a second. I shouldn't fall in love with the first house I see. I should see other houses. Yeah. And maybe you might feel like that, but people work their whole lives to be lucky enough to get to Denver, and you're already from here.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
It felt impossible. There was a point where I was like, well, do I start looking elsewhere? I did look a little bit, and I was like, I can't leave Denver. It's too good.
That's how you're feeling.
I know I'll have a position here, but it's just too good to leave.
Do you have any updates for us? Do you want to say anything, or are we going to
no updates still? I know it's such a bummer. What I've been saying is there are certain seasons for certain things, and right now is not one of those seasons. So just gotta hold on a little bit longer, everybody. But I've still been all around. I was working at Rapids. I've been at Avs, Nuggets.
How was your Rapids gig? Talk to me about that. How was it to be back there with them?
It was so much fun to be back. So if you did not know, during COVID, I actually worked for the Rapids. I went down to Orlando. I did the bubble life. It was crazy. Just thinking that I lived there for 3 weeks, and you literally went from your practice facility to your hotel room, to a bus, to a game, back to a meal room, to your hotel room, and could not go anywhere else.
Were you not allowed to work out, like go for a run or go outside? You couldn't do anything like that?
You could do like solo stuff. I was doing stuff with Altitude TV at the time, so I would go do solo stuff, but nobody else was around me. And if they were, we were all masked up.
Okay.
It was crazy to think about. And I mean, I ate the same meal, it felt like every single day for breakfast. And, you get your little box of food that would get delivered. We had to quarantine when we got there. Thinking about the bubble is just so wild to me. And it was so much fun. And then the NBA was on the opposite side of the lake from us.
Oh, wow.
And obviously MLS, NBA, totally different, but they had guys that were like moving brand new TVs into their hotel rooms. And I'm sitting there like, what on earth is going on here? Like, we're preparing to be here for months. And then we were just in like the MLS bubble, like, stop everybody.
So you go back to the Rapids recently.
Yeah, I was there on Saturday, so it was Women's Empowerment Night. Romy Bean was on the PA, which was really cool. So her and I got to hang out for a little bit. I hosted with Drew Moore, who's a Rapids legend.
Sure.
It was just so much fun to be back there. There's such a big difference between hosting in front of 10,000 people and being on TV, being on camera that way, where, you have to really bring the energy. You can hear the reaction from different people. And it was really fun. I actually have it in my blog too. There was one moment when I said, like, ladies and gentlemen, this has to get you excited. And DMac, I'm not kidding. I heard the entire room go quiet, the entire stadium. I felt like I heard a pin drop. Okay. And I was like, okay, everybody is listening to me right now. And I said that the Colorado Rapids are, for the first time in history, are unbeaten in their first 4 matches. And everybody just went wild. And it was one of those, I feel like, memories I'm going to remember forever. Was
it a packed house?
Yeah, I think they had over like 9,000 people. I mean, obviously awesome. For the first couple of hits we did, there was hardly anybody in the stands. But by the time the game started, it was pretty packed. I was impressed.
Is it a different set of nerves or adrenaline doing that sort of thing in front of such a large amount of people? I mean, when you're on TV that you've done a million times, you're obviously talking, to so many more people, obviously. But you don't see them. You don't know it.
I was telling Romy, because she was like, I'm starving. And I'm like, I'm actually really hungry too, but I can't eat before I host. If it was TV, you've seen me pound popcorn. I pound popcorn. I'm pounding like the salads, the prime rib, everything. I took like one bite of everything and I was like, I'm done. Because it is just different. You can't, not that you're burping on like live TV, but like, what if you have to burp or do something? I'm just like, nope, stay neutral, drink water, call it a day.
Yeah, I have found, I'm curious what you think, when I speak in front of like a lot of people, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, 9,000, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not really that, because so many people, it's like, it's like a blanket. It's like a tapestry, Yeah. But sometimes if you just got to speak in front of like, I don't know, like 20 people or just a small room, that could kind of get you going a little bit. And, I'm to the point on, well, certainly here, it's just me and you. So it's whatever. It's awesome, but it's not, I'm not nervous or anything. And I'm never nervous on the radio. I'm not nervous. I'm more like focused on what are we doing and how are we doing it. And, like I want to do a really good show.
Yeah.
Now, every now and then something happens on the radio where, it's kind of a moment or a bigger deal. And I've certainly done radio shows in front of people too. So there's been times, and certainly when you start something brand new, oh my God, like any new job, but the TV stuff of late has been really interesting. I don't find myself nervous on TV at all. And I've done a bunch of it, but you know why? Because I'm not hosting anything. I'm just sort of like reacting to what anybody is like setting up. So I don't know how I would feel if I had to be the host of something or do it. I've done all sorts of TV recently, and it's just reacting to what other people are asking me. And I'm like, that's easy.
It really is. When you're just talking about what you already know, you feel like you're talking to two friends. Yeah. There's no difference between you and I doing this and doing TV. Like,
not really. Yeah.
It's just the exact same thing.
I think I probably would be more nervous if I was doing like stadium hosting. I could hear myself on the PA and, people, but it must be an adrenaline thing too.
Yeah.
Because people do respond to what you're putting out there.
It's funny because I can talk sports all day long, but when I have to remember what section the hot dogs are in that we're like promoting, that's when I'm like, wait, what section was it? Crap, was it section 137 or was it section 130? Like, that's when I start to overthink. It's when you have to for sure get something right that you're not just speaking out of memory. That's when I'm like, oh, crap.
Can I tell you right? One time you're going to find this is super stupid, but I was like, when I first went over to Altitude and they kind of put me on tour. So I was on like the Jumbotron for the Nuggets and for the Avs. And they even put me on the TV broadcast for both. No problem. Mm-hmm. It was really fun, like being on the TV.
I remember watching you. I was cheering you on.
But I'll tell you the most nervous I was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't being on with Mosier and Riker on hockey or with Scott and Chris in basketball. When the game's actually going on, I'm part of the No, that was fine. It was when I had to interview on the Jumbotron the Mighty Mite little kid that like had played the hockey thing. And I was literally nervous about like how's this going to go? And I want to make it kind of fun. I don't want to do it the boring way that it usually is, but you got to be careful. It's still like a little kid. Like, so you don't want to, you don't want to get booed by anybody. Yep. So I was literally more nervous about how that was going to go than anything I did in those 2 games.
How are you with names?
Terrible.
Okay,
terrible.
So I think everybody who works in broadcasting, we're all really bad with names. There is nothing worse than introducing yourself. They tell you their names and you get up there and you're like, oh crap, I have to introduce them and I don't remember their names. Terrible. So now I will ask whoever it is like 4 times just to make sure I have their names like deep inside my brain so I do not mess it up.
Anyways, that's us. The little kid, he was like an 8-year-old, and I just said, "Hey, do you mind if I call you Killer Kowalski?" And he was like, "Sure."
Wait, did you see the kid though yesterday at the Avs game who like flew to Denver from somewhere? I don't remember, but like beat cancer and then just wanted. Was it a Kale McCarr? I know he got a Kale McCarr helmet.
I saw him in the hallway after the game too. Oh, yeah, that's really really cool. Oh yeah. Oh, the stories are I don't know. People are so much tougher than I am and have to endure so much. So, we have our little jobs, ups and downs, don't we? But
oh yeah.
You got your health. You got people that love you. You have, look at the people in the comments are great. And
I know you guys are honestly absolutely the best. So, cheers to all of you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. And we're glad we can bring some entertainment into your living room, your office, wherever you're watching.
Yeah.
If the Nuggets continue to be on the Mike Malone struggle bus, does Malone finish out the season? Who do we think the new head coach is next season? I do not think Michael Malone will get fired. And he will be here for the rest of the season.
Well, that's my good friend Daniel, and Daniel has one take. Everybody is about to be fired. But that being said, to give some respect to Daniel, who really, literally, Rachel, if you follow Daniel, he's
everyone.
Every sport they're about to fire the coach.
Oh, Daniel, let's change our perspective just a second. Let's ride a happier train than just cutting them off.
I actually love Daniel, but I gotta take Daniel with a serious grain of salt. Now, let me just tell you this. I'm watching the Celtics documentary on HBO.
Is it good?
It's really good.
Okay.
And I grew up as a Celtics fan in the 80s, living in Ipswich, Massachusetts, and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, Scott Wedman, all these guys, Cedric Maxwell, I think I said, they were all my heroes. They were all my heroes growing up. So watching this documentary, and it takes the course of the entire Celtics. So from the beginnings in the 50s, where they won all the championships, and 60s with Bill Russell, through the 70s where they won a couple, and now we're to Larry Bird. And the Larry Bird thing, usually each 10 years is 1 hour. Well, they're splitting the Bird era up into 2 hours. So we're through like the first 5 years of Bird, and then we're going to get the rest a little bit later on. But the first coach of the Celtics with Larry Bird was this guy, Bill Fitch. And he was a tough dude, and I remember that. And the players really didn't like him. They won one championship with Fitch, but a couple years after they won their first championship, Robert Parrish admitted they just couldn't stand the guy, and they quit on him. And they lost in the second round of the playoffs to the Milwaukee Bucks. And he literally said, we quit on him. And they more or less told Red Auerbach that, we can't stand this guy and we got to go in a different direction. And then they brought in this guy, Casey Jones, who had been a player on the Celtics. And, he's more of a, players, because he was a player. And Bill Fitch was just, a short little, coach guy.
Yeah.
And it did show me, Rachel, the similarities between that Celtics team and this Nuggets team is actually pretty extraordinary, meaning that Larry Bird and Nikola Jokic has so much similarities. Yeah. It's crazy. And if you don't do the best you can to win with your superstar while you have him, it's going to go in one of two directions, Rachel. One of three directions, okay? In my opinion.
Okay.
The Nuggets are going to win a championship and everything's great, and we'll,
And Rachel's going to get another one of these.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
That's what I need.
The Nuggets will lose if the Nuggets lose, and you're going to do one of two things. You will have to make some major personnel changes, and that likely will be either Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray. Or you keep the players together and you replace the coach. You're at a juncture right now that if you don't win, you've got to make some major changes.
Yep.
And I think it's going to go one way or the other. The thing that doomed Bill Fitch was the players just hated him. And I don't think the players hate Michael Malone.
No.
I think the problems right now that the Lakers have, and the Lakers have a lot, the Nuggets have a lot of drama going on right now. And I think it's mainly centered around those players who weren't on the championship team versus the guys that were on the championship team.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any beefs with Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic is a little bit more utilitarian. He just wants to win, but I don't think there's any beefs there. But I think the new guys on the team, specifically Russell Westbrook, as much as we all like Russell Westbrook, I think things are a little tense right now, in my opinion. That I think it's been okay with Westbrook this year, but I think naturally there's got to be some sort of weird professional animosity between him and Jamal Murray. And
I've been saying that for months.
And I think his play, Westbrook's play, it was really red hot there for a while. But I think it's slowed down quite a bit. He's not starting. Even when Aaron Gordon was out, he wasn't in the starting lineup. It was Peyton Watson. So he's clearly just going to come off the bench. And I really do wonder if that's the real issue right here. Like, it's just too much of he was an enemy for so long. He's not a bad guy. He's definitely not a bad guy. But I just wonder if those championship guys are having a hard time meshing with a guy who was their foe for so long.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't heard that perspective before, but I do think, and I even said when Russell Westbrook came in, I was like, this is really weird for Jamal. Like, he's like, I'm just here to push Jamal Murray. And I'm like, okay, but Jamal is so up and downs at times throughout the season that eventually he's going to take over. So I felt like there was always going to be this weird feeling around the situation. Because if Russ was doing better than Jamal was, everybody seems to be Team Jamal one way or another. I think it can get very dirty very fast. But interesting that you think it's championship guys versus Russ.
I do. And just not in a mad, angry, we hate him way. Yeah. But more hey, man, we did this thing together. He's an outsider, not an insider, that sort of thing. But hey, listen, I'm happy to be wrong, and I want to see them succeed. I think the up and down nature is very similar to the up and down nature they had after the All-Star break when they won a championship. Don't forget they went 12-11. I think they're around 500 after the All-Star break this year. So what's happening this year is actually
right on par.
Yeah, it's not all that different from what happened when they won the championship there in 23. Sure. So
Daniel saying Jokic is a go tonight. So is AG.
Good. What about Michael Porter Jr.?
I have not heard that.
I saw him warming up. I saw Jokic warming up. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit late down to the game tonight as we're doing this, which I'm happy to be doing, by the way. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but I'm not surprised by that. He's had a lot of time off, Rachel. I mean,
MPJ is back in the lineup.
What's that?
It's Murray, Brown, Porter, Gordon, and Jokic. All
okay. And by the way, the Bucks are going without Giannis and without Dame Lillard. So
yeah, I know.
You need to put the foot on the throat, wrap this game up by the end of the third quarter, and just rest your big players. And you need to just go from there. This cannot, Rachel. This game and Friday against Utah, who's in last place in the Western Conference.
Yep.
You got to get these games, and you got to take care of business relatively easily on these two games.
What point do you take your foot off the gas and just rest for the playoffs? For both the Avs and Nuggets. We'll start with Nuggets.
Well, they're behind Houston.
Yeah.
And I'm looking how many games they're behind. They're behind Houston by 2 games. I don't think you need – I don't think you have to kill yourself to be the 2 seed. I don't think that really matters. It'd be nice to be the 3 seed. And as long as you don't have to play Minnesota, right? And right now, Minnesota is tied with the Clippers in that play-in sort of tournament. Golden State is just ahead of them. So it's going to be tight with those 3. Huh. I just don't want to see Minnesota. So I don't really care. Listen, I'll take – here's what would be great. The Nuggets take on Golden State in the first round. They take care of them. Then they take the Rockets. I don't care if they're home or away against the Rockets. It doesn't matter. They take care of business. And then who knows against Oklahoma City. I mean, they've been so extraordinary this year. It's hard to say how that's going to go. But that's what I would like to see happen. So if the Nuggets could just stay in third place, but it's tricky, Rach. I mean, they're one game ahead of the Lakers. They're a half game ahead of Memphis. So how many games you got? You of your 9 remaining games, I think you got to win 5. You got to go at least 5-4.
Do you have to beat Minnesota next week? Just for even a little confidence boost?
I mean, that would help because they're in the same conference, obviously. I don't think confidence means all that much. Listen, I think you got to get five wins of the next 9 by hook or by crook. So do you have to beat them? It'd be nice considering how embarrassed you were by them. But you've got San Antonio after that. Then you got Golden State. Sacramento's not doing anything. So, I mean, those could be your, tonight, Utah 2, San Antonio 3, Golden State 4, Sacramento 5.
Yep.
And, you're good. Probably. What do you think?
So I think they have to beat Minnesota because I do think that there is a little bit of confidence. It feels like Minnesota is just their kryptonite. And I do think that there's a lot of mental games with this team, this squad. So I think you do need to beat them because if you do go up against them in the playoffs, then you're looking at we didn't win a single game against them this year. That's terrible. So I do think they need to beat Minnesota. There's 9 games left.
Yeah.
They're 2 behind
Houston. That's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough.
But they do. Houston is their last game of the season.
Oh, gosh.
So, yeah.
You're 1 game behind.
Right. The drama.
I think it's going to be tough, honestly. But I'm also on the keep AG and Jokic healthy as much as you can train. Let's not strain them to try and make something happen and take a big leap in the standings. So I'm real big because if either one of those two get hurt or stay hurt, I guess I should say, it could be an early exit from the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, without Jokic, come on. I mean, and frankly, without AG, it's not impossible without AG. It is impossible without Jokic. Yep. So that's just that.
Literally.
Here's
How do you think that feels to literally be an entire team? If you don't go, it doesn't matter.
I think that there's a lot of pressure on Nikola Jokic all the time. I think it's tough. Yeah. I think it's difficult. I've sort of been in a couple of different social situations where he's around and he's the center of attention no matter where he goes. I see how people love him and they adore him. Yeah. But
for private guy,
still, it's a lot. It's all a lot to me. So how is it? I don't know, man. I think it's tough. But that being said, just judging by his body language and sort of watching him while he's been sitting out, I think the guy loves basketball. I think he'd rather be playing. I think taking a little bit of a break is a good deal. I think that was enough of a break. 5 games, a week and a half. In all honesty, that's more than I think you even need. Yeah. So I think he should be good to go for the rest of these games. So
now Avs.
Avs, it's funny. The Avs and Nuggets are in a very similar situation. However, the way they are getting there is totally different. Yes. For the Nuggets, it's all this crazy drama, roller coaster up and down. The Avs are just they're like a steam engine just plowing through teams.
I know.
But the irony is there's not much they can do in terms of the standings or who they're going to play in the playoffs. Yep. There's no way they can catch Winnipeg. No way. They're enough ahead of Minnesota, and Minnesota's not looking that great, that I doubt they'll fall back to the wild card. Yep. And they're just behind Dallas to the degree that it's going to be tough to sort of catch them. Not that it even matters, because even if you catch them, you're still going to play them. Yep. So despite how great they're doing, and there's no drama with the Avs. I was there last night. They feel great about everything. The depth is incredible. I do think Gabe Landeskog will come back either at the beginning of the playoffs or at some point during the playoffs. But Dallas will be tough. All the teams that they'll play will be tough. I do think the Avalanche and the Nuggets, for the record, Rachel, I think they both should get to the Western Conference Final and Finals. I think they should. And don't forget, we learned this together. In hockey, it's final.
Final.
In basketball, it's finals.
Yep. It is the Stanley Cup final.
And it's the Western Conference
final.
But in the NBA, it's finals.
NBA finals.
So listen, I hope people can still understand us when we speak fluent Canadian.
Do you know how freaking lucky we are? That we're like, we learned this together because both of our teams did that in back-to-back years. It's crazy.
Right? And then the station that we did that for decided to fire us.
Hey, yeah.
It was final. It was final and finals. Yeah. It was both. It was both a final and a finals.
Are you the final? Or you?
Well, I guess I was the finals and you were the final. Although I saw the ratings and there's probably more to come. So they're
brutal. But you know what?
Yeah.
If I was still there, I probably wouldn't be doing this show, D. And I am so happy to do
this
for Wednesday. And I'm so happy to hang out with all of you guys too. It is so much fun. Truthfully, I look forward to this every week.
Are we saying goodbye now, or do you want to talk about
Russ? No, we have 9 more minutes.
The Giants.
We can't exit out.
What do you think about that? Did you see Sierra?
No, but did you hear the new Let's Ride?
No, what is it?
Go Big Blue. Go Big Blue.
All right.
Go Big Blue.
Were they both saying it?
No. Okay. No, he just said at the end of his press conference.
All right.
Oh no.
This comes from the Giants, okay? So this is not Russ and Sierra, but I want your honest feedback. This is the Russ just signed with the Giants photo. There's Sierra with the sunglasses. Now, why is she in the picture, and why is she wearing sunglasses?
Fair on both points. I did see a picture of him signing, and it's just him. Family photo. I don't know.
They can't fucking help themselves.
I don't think she was like, can I be in the photo?
Then how come she's all dolled up wearing sunglasses in the photo?
Well, of course she'd be all dolled up. She was all dolled up for the Broncos. She walked in that like orange blazer dress.
Show me on any of these free agent signings. Now listen, all right, I've seen a couple. That is true. Yeah. I have seen some. I have.
But where are the kids? School's calling. Let me just.
I have seen some family photos like around the table, and so I'm not saying she's the only wife or family member in that, but I mean, come on, Rach, look at that. I mean, what are we doing here?
Mr. Unlimited.
All the above. Anything that Sierra does, I love.
R&B or rap music?
R&B all day.
Mr. Unlimited or Dangerous?
Unlimited. Always dangerous, though.
Book or podcast?
I love a good book, but I like the podcast because in New York traffic, I got to sit in the traffic sometimes. I got to listen to something on the radio.
Because he's been in so much traffic recently.
Where do you think they're going to live?
Who knows? I don't know anything about New York or New Jersey.
Do you not?
No, the Jets are in New Jersey.
They are. Wait, so are the Giants. They're both in New Jersey. Okay. Wait, have you ever been to New York?
I was there I've been for like roughly 12 hours. On my flight back from Switzerland, we had a layover in New York City. We went out. We were so tired, but we went outside, saw Times Square. It was underwhelming.
Really?
Yeah. So
you had a layover, but from the same airport, but you said, screw it, we're here. Let's go take a peek.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
We like honestly planned it that way because I was like, oh, I've never been to New York. If we have to have a layover somewhere, I'd rather go out and explore and just get a hotel room. Than
were you at LaGuardia or JFK or JFK? Okay. All right.
That's New York for like 12 hours.
Okay.
It was.
So you've only spent 12 hours in New York City?
Yeah.
Oh, Rach, we got.
And I got Chick-fil-A of all things to eat. We didn't go out to eat or anything, but Times Square is underwhelming.
It's gone through a lot of changes over the years. Now Times Square is just it's big tourist trap sort of thing. But it's still Times Square. It's still kind of cool.
I think if I was 22 years old, it would be so fun to go live there for a year or a summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
otherwise,
my wife had an internship at Nursing Magazine. She was going to be a magazine major. She was a magazine major in college. So she got this 6-week internship. So she did that. She spent a half a summer in New York City and stayed at NYU near Wash Park. And that's a very cool place, somewhat near Greenwich Village. And so I went and visited her, and but my brother used to live in New York City. And he lived there for more than 10 years, and he went to Columbia Medical School and worked on Wall Street. And his wife Andrea graduated from Columbia Medical School. So I've spent a ton, and I ran the New York City Marathon. So I've been in New York City countless times. Way too many to count.
I just couldn't do the grocery thing, like carrying my groceries back. I would not drive.
Well, now everything is delivered. Like literally you name anything. That's the way New York's been. But you see people with their little shopping carts rolling their food around, that sort of thing. I don't think that's how Russ and Sierra are gonna live.
No.
And to keep it real, the practice facility, the stadium, everything is in Jersey. It's not in New York.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they'll find some multi-million-dollar. Actually, I bet they rent now. I think they made the mistake here in Cherry Hills by buying.
Well, they're gonna have to put their kids in school. So here's what I wonder.
You don't think they're homeschooled at this point?
Oh man,
That's
a good question.
I think they really thought they were going to be here in Denver for 10 years. Put them in.
Yeah.
I don't know if technically it was private school. Or, I'm assuming private school. But I think after moving the past 2 years, they're probably like, nope, we can't do this to our kids.
I don't know what they're going to. It'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But
Agreed.
I saw the
Shedeur
photo.
Go to the Giants?
Shedeur? Maybe. It's confusing, isn't it?
Shedeur, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, all in New York. Sign me up. Maybe I'll go to New York City to cover the football team.
It won't be boring.
It would not. Also, the fact that the Giants are coming to Denver.
Yeah.
Denver is going to be Russell Wilson's kryptonite. That is going to be true.
Yeah, well, he didn't play here when he was with the Steelers, right? Because he was hurt. Yeah, of course. I think we'd all love to see it. Too? He's just not a good quarterback. I mean, the fact that he was able to weasel millions and millions of dollars out of another team, his fourth team in 5 years. I mean, like, I really do not know what the Giants are thinking, but I don't think they're that great of an organization. So there's part of me that's just like, hey, Russ, way to go. I mean, you figured it out. I mean, you bamboozled another organization out of millions of dollars. But I don't have any animosity towards Russ, aside from making a few jokes.
Kid at him, but yeah,
I am rooting for Shedeur, and maybe the Giants know that the Browns are going to take Shedeur, and they're just like, well, whatever, So
wait, what's Pittsburgh doing then? Because obviously Justin Fields left, Russ left.
Yeah. Well, they got all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket right now, don't they?
Oh.
Or they just bite the bullet at 21 and they draft like Jackson Dart and just say, okay, it is what it is. We got to figure it out.
Yeah. You cannot do that. That fan base would never let that fly. Ever.
All right. I got to get going to I'm sorry. Our time goes too fast.
It does. Hold on.
What? Oh, wait. Are we going to turn it off? All right. We got to go. I got to go to the Nuggets. So
cheers to all of you. Have a wonderful night.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See ya.
Peace.